This comment. Imagine not understanding that what happened to pagan and indigenous Europeans during the medieval era is happening to black and indigenous people of color today. Colonization wasn't started by the Christians. Before them, pagan Rome set the precedent of hegemonic rulers like Charlemagne, and after the Christian hegemony was done conquering and colonizing Europe, they moved on to people outside of their continent, using their religion to steal, murder, and assault as they pleased. Comments like this come from a place of ignorance, a place of not understanding that we must not only fight to reconstruct ways that were stolen from us, but that we must help protect indigenous peoples that still have a link to their traditions, beliefs, and worldviews, so they don't have to reconstruct after the lords of capital and hegemony take everything away from them.
Even in the initial stages of contact between European Christians and native Indian people, the stage was set for ethnocentrism, and the attitude towards the Indians was that of Christian superiority. The Indians were read a proclamation in Spanish which they had no hope of understanding. They had no hope of understanding the death sentence they were being read, and it went something like this. We ask and require you to acknowledge the church as the ruler and superior of the whole world, and the high priest called Pope, and in his name the King of Spain as lords of this land. If you submit, we shall receive you in all love and charity, and shall leave you, your wives and children, and your lands free without servitude. But if you do not submit, we shall powerfully enter into your country, and shall make war against you. We shall take you and your wives and your children, and shall make slaves of them, and we shall take away your goods, and shall do you all the harm and damage we can.
The temples of power, the systemic structures that oppress all working class people today, have done a lot historically to teach you that we're divided along racial lines. That simple melanin and geography means you're separate. You are not. Some practices remain closed due to histories of ignorant outside influences, but those closed practices require induction by current members, regardless of ethnic background. No tradition requires race. If they tell you it does, they're just rebranding hegemony for hateful ideological purposes. European pagan traditions must be rebuilt from the ashes of destruction that hegemonic colonizers left in their wake. The Irminsul is one of many symbols stolen by fascists for propaganda, a stylized tree carved in the 12th century by Christians who colonized Saxon lands. They depicted Christians stepping on the symbol of paganism to erect the cross below the Leviathan serpent, the serpent being a common representation of paganism. Interestingly, the Irminsul shares etymology with Jormungand, the Midgard serpent. This may be due to the Irminsul being the axis mundi, the pillar of the world. Like the Egyptian Jed or Mount Fuji in Japan, also, the Yoruba in Africa imagined the world as a jar, with the axis mundi as a spindle in the center. The arch-heathens had many sulur, sacred trees, all believed to be connected to Yggdrasil, the world tree. The specific artistic style of the Irminsul can be seen in other medieval depictions, like the Bayeux Tapestry, this depiction of an Indian paradixon tree, interestingly with a dragon, or the fleur-de-lis. This is an artistic style, not a scientific manual. Like the curved beak of the Norse raven, or the geometric design of Yggdrasil coming from the antlers of a stag. Art can be very abstract. Likely, during its day, the Irminsul was a godpole, or sacred tree, sulur. The one we currently recognize was a 12th century design some claim was originally made by Nazholes. Unless they had a time machine, I don't see how. And of course, feel free to change it. Put a pride flag in it. Give it 4 wings. If it pisses off neo-Nazholes, all the better. I'll end with this. Don't let colonizers defile the sacred. Don't let Nazholes claim Irminsul, runes, or any other symbols in heathenry. Honor the BIPOC and pagan peoples whose lives were ended and irreparably altered by white Christian hegemony. The arch-heathens were tortured, murdered, and assaulted by people like Charlemagne, Olaf Tryggvason, and many other Christians trying to seize power. Honor their memory. Don't give up our symbols to hate.